Bills Mafia is going to be in full swing this season as it's Super Bowl or bust in Buffalo.
Perfect.
2021 showed a lot of promise for this Buffalo Bills squad that honestly might have been just a coin flip away from punching their ticket to go to the Super Bowl. And the Buffalo Bills, behind quarterback Josh Allen and head coach Sean McDermott, have again just put themselves into a great position heading into this 2022 NFL season. A very strong offseason with trades, free agency acquisitions, and NFL draft picks. And honestly, like I said at the top of the video, the Buffalo Bills are Super Bowl or bust this year. So let's examine what they've done so far to put themselves in that position. So examining their NFL free agency haul, the Buffalo Bills brought in a lot of talent, but first and foremost, the acquisition of the future Hall of Famer, the premier edge rusher formerly of the Denver Broncos and most recently the Los Angeles Rams, and their Super Bowl squad, Von Miller. Von Miller is going to bring in some added pass rush alongside guys like Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau, as well as a number of other young and talented players along that Buffalo Bills front four. And Von Miller is going to honestly bring a lot more added pass rush to open up opportunities for the defensive backs. Guys like Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, and Micah Hyde, as well as first-round pick Kaiir Elam, who I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. These guys are going to be feasting off of the opportunities that Von Miller will hopefully, in Bills fans, and honestly, in my worst nightmares as a Patriots fan, if Von Miller is getting after quarterbacks and creating opportunities and forcing quarterbacks into tough situations and forcing them to make mistakes, beyond just getting sacks, he's going to create a lot of opportunities for that defensive back field. And honestly, the rest of the linebacker core with Tremaine Edmonds as well as Matt Milano, honestly, this Buffalo Bills defense got a whole lot better, and the addition of Von Miller might just be that key piece, that key acquisition this offseason that is going to skyrocket the Buffalo Bills into their first Super Bowl appearance since 1993. The rest of the defense, again, has gotten a whole lot better. There's not a lot of holes along this entire roster really at all, but the Von Miller signing is going to be huge. Now, obviously, the downside of this is that it's a very expensive deal, over $100 million, a ton of money in guarantees over 6 years. The contract will end when Miller is 38 years old. So Von Miller is tied to the Buffalo Bills for quite a long time. However, they're looking at the short-term possibilities right now. Within this next year or two, I think that window is very much so wide open for the Buffalo Bills, and they're hoping that Von Miller can bring that championship caliber to their squad. Another big free agency addition, the addition of guard Roger Saffold, formerly of the Tennessee Titans. Saffold brings a very strong interior run game presence to this Buffalo Bills offensive line. Saffold has been on a number of very successful offensive lines, was a part of the 2,000-yard campaign by Derrick Henry most recently, a former Pro Bowler. And if Roger Saffold can obviously just remain on the field, it's going to be a huge boost for an offensive line that saw a couple of departures this offseason. But again, I really like this pickup for them. You're just getting some more veteran presence along an offensive line that was already pretty solid. I don't think it's going to hinder their performance in the slightest. Again, just as long as Saffold is on the field, I think it's going to be a really good pickup. And the last guy I want to mention is wide receiver Jamison Crowder, formerly of the New York Jets. Crowder has kind of floated around the league as a very premier slot option for a lot of his teams. And I think he's going to bring a very similar role to the Buffalo Bills offense as now does not have Cole Beasley in the rotation. The Buffalo Bills have a number of very good wide receivers. Obviously, you've got Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, and of course the re-signing of Isaiah McKenzie, as well as a number of other pickups they've had throughout the offseason. However, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Jamison Crowder is taking over those slot reps, that slot role. He's not going to necessarily be on the field all the time, but in those crucial, scrappy third down situations where you need maybe a 4 or 5 yard pickup, a guy who's going to be able to take that screen out and really just work with it and get first downs, I think Crowder is that guy. Again, a fill-in for Cole Beasley within this offense. I'm really curious to see how it works out, but I think it's certainly an addition worth mentioning. Now let's transition from free agency to the NFL draft, where the Buffalo Bills had a big splash in the first round, picking up cornerback out of Florida, Kaiir Elam. And Elam is going to bring a very, honestly, great option as your number 2 corner opposite of Tre'Davious White. I've already mentioned a number of the big names within that defensive backfield, but Kaiir Elam right now, as mandatory minicamps are underway, is going to get a lot of those number 1 corner reps. However, when Tre'Davious White is back and he's on his full recovery, which again, Tre'Davious is actually on pace for a full-time recovery. He should be back, I'm imagining, by the beginning of the season. Kaiir Elam, throughout the preseason and throughout minicamps and OTAs, is going to get a lot of very valuable reps that when he slides into that number 2 role is going to make him that much more explosive as far as being a solid outside number 2 corner. Down the stretch, the Buffalo Bills struggled in their secondary without Tre'Davious White. Kaiir Elam can easily step into the number 1 role if necessary. However, starting off as a number 2 within this Buffalo Bills defense is going to be huge for his career development. I like this pickup a lot. It shores up maybe one of the very few holes that the Buffalo Bills had in that defense when full stock, full healthy. And honestly, it just makes the rest of the job for the rest of the AFC East and the rest of the Buffalo Bills opponents that much tougher when you've got a first-round pick sitting out there as the number 2 cornerback option. Ideally, this Buffalo Bills secondary with Elam in it is going to look a whole lot faster and a whole lot smarter and a whole lot more explosive. Another pickup that I really loved by the Buffalo Bills is in round 2, running back James Cook out of Georgia, the brother of Minnesota Vikings star Dalvin Cook. Honestly, if James Cook is 80% of the player that Dalvin is and remains on the field a little bit more, I think the Buffalo Bills have found their running back of the future easily in James Cook. Watching what he has done at Georgia, he can take the ball between the tackles and run it up the gut, but he's also very effective in the passing game. In addition, that honestly shows a lot of versatility within the Buffalo Bills offense. If you put James Cook on the field, I think it's a lot more of a guess for the defense as to what the Bills are going to do versus having maybe a Devin Singletary on the field or maybe a Zach Moss. James Cook is that median between both of those guys where if you bring out that commodity backfield, James Cook is the outlier as to what the heck are the Bills going to do on this snap. I really like what Cook brings to the field here. I really like what he brings to the Buffalo Bills. And again, as a Patriots fan and an AFC East rival, it scares me, the potential of this offense, and I think the potential of James Cook scares me even more so. And the final draft pick that I wanted to touch on is a special teamer punter, Matt Arazia out of San Diego State. Arazia, if you can't keep up at all with social media, you have seen this kid absolutely boom punts down the field, set college football records for average punt distance at over 51 yards, a college football record. The kid has an absolute hammer for a leg, can put the ball down the field. I've seen this kid kick 80-yard punts and still pin an opposing offense within their own 20. The kid's an absolute monster in the punting game. I think this is going to be a huge addition for the Buffalo Bills and their special teams. The ability to flip the field easily with this punting game is going to be absolutely necessary. Special teams is just as important as the offense and the defense, even if they don't get as much shine. But the addition of Arazia is going to be huge. He's going to be competing with their punter, Matt Hack, who last year had a little bit of troubles. But the big difference here is going to be if Arazia can pick up that role of being a very good placeholder for their field goal kickers. And honestly, I think the kid's up for the task. He's got an absolute hammer of a leg. He's obviously a highlight waiting to happen, but also, quick little tidbit, at the combine, he ran a sub 4.7 40-yard dash, so he's got some wheels on him too. I'm interested to see what the Bills are going to bring to the table with Arazia on the field. So out of the offseason additions, let's take a look to the NFL season and try to predict what the Buffalo Bills season outlook is going to look like. So weeks 1 through 9, I think, are probably the tougher half of the schedule. Starting things off on the road versus the Los Angeles Rams, then back at home versus the Tennessee Titans, back on the road for 2 straight matchups versus the Miami Dolphins, then the Baltimore Ravens, back at home versus Pittsburgh, and then back on the road versus Kansas City. So 4 of their first 6 games are going to all be on the road. Then they have their bye week post the Chiefs game, then the Green Bay Packers at home, then the New York Jets, finally to finish out the first 9 weeks. I think a lot of this travel might hinder them a bit. I think 5 wins is about safe here. during this stretch with a very strong start to the season for the Buffalo Bills, but the second half of the season is where the layups start coming in, and as long as the Bills stay healthy, they're going to look absolutely ridiculous going into the postseason. They might even snag the #1 overall seed as they're playing the Minnesota Vikings at home to start off that final 9-week stretch, then the Cleveland Browns at home, then on the road versus the Detroit Lions, then on the road versus the New England Patriots, who are not nearly as strong as they had been in recent years, the New York Jets back at home, Dolphins at home, then the Chicago Bears back on the road again versus the Cincinnati Bengals, easily the toughest game they have during this slate, and then against the New England Patriots in Foxborough to round out the season. During that stretch, wouldn't be shocked if the Buffalo Bills win 8 of those 9 games. 7 wins is still even a great mark for this team. I think 13 wins for the Buffalo Bills this season feels like an expectation at this point. The Buffalo Bills, again, chasing their first Super Bowl appearance since 1993. I think they can absolutely achieve a strong position going into the playoffs. Maybe potentially the #1 overall seed, getting that bye week, and making the rest of the AFC go through them at home. The rest of the AFC obviously has gotten a lot tougher. You've got teams like the LA Chargers. You've still got the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cincinnati Bengals just won the AFC Championship last year. The Baltimore Ravens are still a pretty strong squad as well. But I think the Buffalo Bills feel like the most complete team. They probably have the most chemistry. The only worry that I have for the Buffalo Bills heading into this season really is the performance of the offense without now Giants head coach and former offensive coordinator for the Bills, Brian Daboll. The loss of Brian Daboll is going to be huge for Josh Allen. However, has Allen taken enough steps as a pro where losing Daboll might not be the hindrance that it might have been maybe a couple of seasons ago? Allen has put up some monster numbers the last couple of seasons under Daboll's offense. So, the real brunt of the load is going to be on Josh Allen, seeing how he performs with the weapons that he has around him on the offense. Again, this is a very complete roster, and if Sean McDermott understands what Josh Allen does well, he's going to find an offensive coordinator, set up an offensive playbook at least, that tailors to the skill set of Josh Allen. Of course, he's the best player on your offense, and honestly, I think the Bills, they're smart enough to understand and figure out, hey, this is what we got to do to win. This is what works really well for us. We're going to execute these types of packages and these types of plays effectively. We're going to play to Josh Allen's strengths, to our offensive strengths, and put ourselves in the best position to win. However, again, just the storyline to keep your eyes on this season is how the offense looks in comparison to how it looked last year with Brian Daboll and without him. Again, but that's really the only thing I could see that's going to be a major hindrance on this Buffalo Bills squad. I still think, again, it's Buffalo Bills Super Bowl or bust. So thank you so much for watching the video. Of course, feel free to stick around, like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time that I'm dropping a video. My name is Tristan Blake Rines. I'm going to catch you in the next one. Adios.